Literature is a body of written, spoken, or visual works that express ideas, emotions, stories, and experiences, often reflecting cultural, social, or personal perspectives. It encompasses creative and imaginative writings in various forms, including prose, poetry, drama, and oral traditions. Key features of literature. 1. Artistic expression. Literature is considered an art form that uses language to evoke emotions, provoke thought, and stimulate imagination. 2. Cultural reflection. It often mirrors the culture, history, and values of the time and place it was created. 3. Universality. Literature addresses universal themes such as love, conflict, morality, and human experiences. 4. Language and style. Writers use techniques such as symbolism, imagery, and metaphor to convey deeper meanings. Forms of literature. 1. Prose. Includes novels, short stories, essays, and biographies. 2. Poetry. Verses that use rhythm and imagery, including lyric, epic, and free verse. 3. Drama. Works intended for performance, such as plays. 4. Oral traditions. Folktales, myths, and legends passed down verbally. Importance of literature. Emotional connection. Helps readers connect with characters and situations. Cultural preservation. Documents traditions, beliefs, and values. Emerald and once gaining complex themes and meanings. The word literature comes from the Latin word literatura or litera, which means writing formed with letters, or letters in a broader sense etymology. Modern definition. In its contemporary usage, literature refers to creative or scholarly works that reflect ideas, emotions, and culture, encompassing prose, poetry, drama, and oral traditions. The genres of literature refer to the categories or types of literary works that share similar characteristics or forms. Here are the main literary genres. 1. Prose is written or spoken language in its ordinary form, without a structured meter or rhyme. It includes both fiction and non-fiction works. Fiction, imaginative works that are not based on real events. Novel, a long narrative work of fiction, often complex in theme and character. For example, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Short story, a brief narrative that focuses on a single incident or character. For example, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. Novella, a shorter narrative, longer than a short story, but shorter than a novel. For example, The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Non-fiction, works that are based on real events, facts, or truths. Biography, the life story of a person written by someone else. For example, The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Autobiography, a self-written account of one's own life. For example, The Story of My Life by Helen Keller. Essay, a short piece of writing that explores a specific topic or idea. For example, A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift. Journalism, reporting on real-world events or issues. For example, news articles or investigative reports. 2. Poetry uses rhythm, meter, and often rhyme to express emotions, ideas, or stories. It is known for its artistic use of language. Lyric poetry expresses personal thoughts or feelings of the poet. L. For example, Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Narrative poetry tells a story through verse. For example, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Epic poetry, a long, serious poem that tells the story of heroic deeds or significant events. For example, The Iliad by Homer. Dramatic poetry, poetry written in the form of dialogue, often to be performed. For example, The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. Haiku, a traditional Japanese form of poetry that focuses on nature and moments of beauty, typically consisting of 3 lines. For example, An Old Silent Pond by Matsuo Basho. Free verse, poetry without a set rhyme or meter. For example, The Waste Land by T.S. Eliot. Drama consists of written works that are meant to be performed by actors, often with a focus on dialogue and performance. Tragedy, a serious and often somber drama that ends in disaster, usually involving the downfall of the main character. For example, Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Comedy, a light-hearted or humorous drama that often ends in a happy resolution. For example, A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Historical drama, a play based on historical events or figures. For example, Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. Tragicomedy, a mix of both tragic and comedic elements, often blending serious situations with humorous or light-hearted moments. For example, The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Musical,
a drama in which songs and music are integral to the plot and character. Development, for example. Les Miserables by Claude Michel Chambert. Oral literature. Literature is passed down through word of mouth, often in the form of stories, traditions, or songs. Fable, a short story that teaches a moral lesson, often with animals as characters. For example, The Tortoise and the Hare by Aesop. Folktale, a traditional story, often passed through generations, that reflects cultural values and beliefs. For example, Cinderella. Myth, a traditional story that explains natural phenomena, gods, and cultural beliefs. For example, Greek myths like the story of Zeus. Legend, a semi-true or exaggerated story passed down through generations. For example, The Legend of King Arthur. Epic, a long narrative poem or story about heroic deeds and historical events. For example, Beowulf. Hybrid forms, genres combine elements of multiple traditional genres. Graphic novels, a narrative that uses both words and illustrations, similar to a comic book but usually longer and more complex. For example, Moz by Art Spiegelman. Play with poetry, a dramatic work that includes poetic elements. For example, The Tempest by William Shakespeare.